Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a watch launched in 2019. This is the Panerai Radiomir GMT Power Reserve Edition Verde Militare. It is the PAM00999, and it features a Radiomir 1940 style case. So this was part of a series of 4 green dial military-themed Panerai watches that came out that year. It's a GMT, it's a Power Reserve, it's a micro-rotor automatic, and it will carry uncommon appeal to non-Panerai guys. If you're into movements, if you're into complications, you're generally not a Paneristo. Well, this is for you. The watch is 45 millimeters in stainless steel, that's the diameter. 15.6 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. It's 52.6 millimeters, and there's a 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I'll throw it on my wrist of 16 centimeters in circumference, so you can get a sense of how it fits. Big is the look. This actually feels just fine. And although the lugs are over the edge of my wrist, and you could see that down the barrel, it doesn't offend me the way it would on, say, an IWC Big Pilot, because the watch wears more or less like a square cushion. You're more aware, both aesthetically and physically, of the case itself, not the lugs. So the sensory experience is of a watch that feels like it fits. Aesthetically, a watch that's big, but big is the look. It doesn't look ungainly or out of place. So I'm going to recommend wrists of 16 centimeters circumference and up. Consider this watch viable. It'll absolutely work. It might even fit underneath a cuff. We have a dramatically domed sapphire, and it is a sapphire, along with a sloped conical bezel. It'll slide underneath most sleeves. The strap is a wonderful, somewhat raw calfskin with a fauxtina off-white stitching. It's a light contrast. You can see the edges are folded. It's thick bolstered, so there's a lot of stuffing. And then calfskin on the bottom. Brand new Panerai strap with a matching polished Panerai steel pin buckle. Taking a quick look, you can see here, this is one of the Panerai watches that uses spring bars for the strap. So you've got your strap tool holes right there, so you can pop the strap off if you want to swap. And as with any Panerai watch, you're going to find a universe of options, OEM and aftermarket. That's part of the culture of owning a Panerai watch. What Panerai calls the Radiomir 1940 dispenses with the older wire-style lugs, so less like the 3646. Here we have lugs more like the later 6152, where they're substantial and integral with the case, rather than being rather spare and wire-like. Taking a look, the crown features a 70s-style Panerai OP logo. So the case may be a 1940, but the logo is 1970s. Also, the crown is a screw down, and it features a combination of polished and media blast surfacing. Taking a look in profile, you see that Radiomir 1940 case profile and a sapphire that looks for all the world like a plexiglass. It's so thick and domed that it does create a similar kind of distortion. The dial is matte green. This is where the Verde Militare comes in. It's a sort of olive green like you would find on military camo or vehicles, but with the richness of rose gold plated hands. So the dial is a sandwich dial, an old Panerai tradition dating back to the 30s, where you have a stencil that includes the numerals, the individual indices, and then some of the sub-dial features. And then under that is a full disc of lume, which creates a wonderful three-dimensional effect in the dark and plenty of luminescence. So let's do a quick lume shot here. And you'll note not only are the 2 primary hands loomed, but so are the sub-registers and the GMT hand. We've got lovely open 6s, open 9s, tri-Arabic numerals, no shortage of luminescence. The watch does feature complications. We've got a date, a power reserve, and a second time zone. So let's start with the most basic thing here. Look at the seconds hand right there. Did you see how it's 0 reset? This is not just hacking seconds. This is 0 reset seconds, so that the hand goes straight to the index at 60 at the start of a minute. So you can set this watch to the second against a reference time. Then you push the crown back in, and the seconds hand is off on its way. Now we do have another mode which engages a individually mobile hour hand. So this is great if you're traveling. You don't want to change your reference time. You don't want to move the minute hand, but you need to change time zones. And you can see that you can adjust the date forward or backwards depending on whether you're traveling east or west across the international date line. We'll zero reset everything again so you can see the power reserve indicator. The power reserve indicator traces the power reserve of 72 hours. We do have 2 stacked mainspring barrels in this watch to give us the 3 days of power reserve. And if you look carefully, coaxial with the running seconds, there is an AM/PM indicator that will let you know whether you're looking at day or night. So that little triangular index below the seconds hand, that's how that works. Flip it all over. You can see the caliber P4002. We have a micro rotor, which allows you to have the big open, pleasing caseback vista, unobscured by a winding bridge and a rotor. So you get a more open, visible movement than with a center rotor automatic. And because the rotor is in the same plane as the bridges, you also wind up with a thinner watch. Now, it's an automatic winder pivoting on 31 joules. It's got the 2 barrels, which is not only useful for a 72-hour power reserve, it does give you more power reserve, but twin barrels with phased mainsprings means that the torque curve delivered to the escapement is very flat from maximum wind to minimum wind, so there's not a lot of variation in the rate based on the watch being fully wound or largely discharged. We do have a full balance bridge, dual anchored with a free sprung balance, 2 features that make for great shock tolerance. And then it beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. The finishing's attractive, but mechanically applied. You can see snailing on the plate below the rotor. The rotor has satination and media blast. Polished screw heads. We have satination across the bridges. We have handsome, but mechanically applied beveling, and then engine turning on the base plate with satination on the wheels that are visible. And of course, all this water resistant down to 100 meters. If you love this watch, reach out Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.